Yes, people, welcome back. We're just going to be talking through cramping here, what causes it, the theories behind it, and how to mitigate it. We're going to have a quick caveat to start. Most of this will be surrounding exercise-induced cramping. So if you are experiencing other sort of cramps, it can be a sign of diabetes or hypothyroidism. And in women, excessive menstrual cramps, especially 7 to 10 days prior to your menstrual cycle, can be a sign. Excess stress, low progesterone, and poor liver detoxification. So, in which case, you should get blood sugar testing, fasting glucose, blood glucose testing, anything anything over 5.2 nmol will be classed as pre-diabetes and needs fixing. You would also need to get a blood test, full hormone panel, ideally full lipid panel, and full thyroid panel, and hit me up if you need that interpreting and where your steps can go from there. Anyway, do not let the dog take away from the validity of what we were talking about, as you know, it still holds weight. So we're going to be talking about basically involuntary contractions of skeletal muscle, so muscle for healthy people with no underlying diseases. There's two theories behind it: dehydration, electrolyte imbalance theory, and the altered neuromuscular control theory. So the dehydration electrolyte imbalance theory does what it says on the tin. If you get more dehydrated, you lose electrolytes. The electrolytes would be through sodium chloride, sodium, magnesium, potassium, not so much calcium, but it's basically as the sweat moves from intramuscular or intracellularly, it moves into the bloodstream, causing mechanical deformation of nerve endings in the muscle and increased concentration of excitatory neurotransmitters as a result of nerve endings in the muscle becoming excitable, they discharge and cramp. So obviously the basis of this theory, is based on what we think dehydration causes it. However, after a review of the literature, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't in a direct way. So there's, in one study we had no difference in plasma electrolytes before or after exercise between a group of athletes that cramped and didn't cramp. Now why that is a significant point is that if people ended up coming out in a cramp group more dehydrated or had less electrolytes after their exercise bout and then cramped, then we'd expect the dehydration theory to be confirmed. However, they lost the same amount. Some people cramped, some didn't. Even in also another study, the Gatorade funded one, so they want to, if they're funded by Gatorade, they want to find something that benefits them. Athletes lost 10 grams of sodium per day, which is 4 times the recommended daily amount, and there was still no exercise-induced muscular cramping. So what does that mean? Well, we've lost a significant amount of electrolytes there, and there was no cramping induced. Therefore, the loss of electrolytes doesn't necessarily contribute to muscle cramps. Magnesium shots, very popular amongst cyclists. Magnesium is used for electrolyte for iron support, muscle contraction, etc., nerve conduction. And if it was the case, the we lost electrolytes, the use of magnesium shots would reduce muscle cramps, but that didn't happen in the study shown. And also, logically speaking, like we see in football, the first port of call for treatment of cramp is stretching. It's not hydration, and stretches relieve it pretty automatically, so or within a very short period of time. So if that was the case, stretching doesn't affect electrolyte imbalance, or so the mechanism of action is not there. Also, if you are 2% dehydrated, you'll feel it. You'll get it. If you're 2% dehydrated, you don't even feel it. And people walk around dehydrated all the time, and you don't see anyone cramping up in Aldi now, do you? So therefore, on its own, dehydration doesn't cause cramps. So then we move on to the altered neuromuscular control theory, which is just basically fatigue plus other risk factors. Dehydration indirectly can lead to it, because if you're more dehydrated, the more quickly fatigue happens. The quicker you fatigue, this could lead to more muscle damage, and therefore cause muscle contraction. What we do think happens is that cramping is inter-individual, so it means there's a threshold for cramping for every different person, and it might be a case of we have a threshold of, for one person it's 5 risk factors, for one person it's 3 risk factors. Risk factors including poor sleep, lack of glycogen in the muscle, muscle damage, previous muscle damage. Say we only have one of them. If we only had poor sleep the night before and everything else is perfect, then we might not cramp. But if we have poor sleep, lack of glycogen, muscle damage, we're nervous before the race, we're predicting that we'll be tired and probably cramp anyway, then there's a case that might cause the cramp. So the takeaway: how to prevent cramps through the best use possible. If you're a cross athlete, such as a rugby player, or someone who just trains and lifts weights days before, so there's a leg day before, and then you have like a race or a football match or something beforehand, what we might see beneficial is using loading that doesn't cause much muscle damage. So we could do concentric only training, so that could be for your legs, a sled push or a BFR, so blood flow restricted bike, to basically minimise the muscle damage, and there's no eccentric damage caused, and where eccentrics cause the most muscular damage, therefore reducing cramp likelihood, as less muscle damage has been incurred. After that, we kickstart the recovery from that training session as soon as humanly possible through parasympathetic nervous system activation. That can be breath work, stretching post-workout, using ashwagandha if it's a heavy workout to get us into that parasympathetic state, chill out. Using a high carb, rapid digesting protein source, 40 grams of protein to maximise that muscle protein synthesis, and should be consumed within the 2 hours post-workout when we're most insulin sensitive. However, if you're an endurance athlete and you were racing the day before, the priority is glycogen resynthesis. So basically just replenishing all the lost carbohydrates in your muscle, and that should be taken at 15 to 20 minutes, every 15 to 20 minutes after the race, in just a rapidly digesting carb source, natural is not better here. You could go for a rapidly digesting drink, like a Lucozade Sport, for example, and looking at replenishing 1 to 1.2 kilograms of carbohydrates, 1.2 grams per kilogram per hour of carbohydrates for the first 4 hours post race. Like I said, these sources could come from anything really that's rapidly digesting. However, something that has a mixture of glucose and fructose will help with glycogen resynthesis, as the fructose will help it get into the muscle faster, and the mixture will replenish liver and muscle glycogen. Then we move on to pickle juice. This should be inside your intra-workout drink for cramping, to prevent cramping, as pickle juice has been shown to reduce cramping in between 30 to 90 seconds, at a measurement of 80 to 100 millilitres. Similarly, we should have what we normally include in a glucose an intra-workout meal or drink, is a glucose and fructose mix, like I said, like Lucozade Sport, Gatorade, that sort of thing. EAAs, essential amino acids, 3 grams of leucine will suffice, but I'd like to see 5 grams because that can help with protein synthesis optimally. And then if you can keep the drink warm, that will do best for maximal hydration, in terms of the rapidity of hydration. Then in terms of sleep, what we can do is you can manipulate your GABA receptors through using a rooibos or a chamomile tea to relax you pre-bed, help you get into a nice deeper sleep. You have a consistent bedtime and wake routine, your circadian rhythm is aligned, your body knows when it is time to relax, etc, etc. No overhead lights, no phone use before bed. Cool bedroom, hot shower 2 hours pre-bed, and there's some supplements that you can use, a lion's mane to get more REM sleep, CBD to get more deep sleep, and then you can have some background noise and blackout blinds to complete the sleep god routine. And then we've got for your nervous system, so primary nervous system, or like just your thoughts on the day of if you're racing or playing your respective sports. Now this is commonly sort of overlooked, however it affects the neuroconnections in your brain and creates the story or the placebo effect, and we know how powerful the placebo effect is. In our brain, and if you're predicting that you're going to get cramp, chances are you're going to get cramp. Why do we say that? Is normally we see athletes don't cramp in training when there's no pressure on, and then when the switch flips, we see them cramp up. So there's something in the mindset going on in there, and at the end of the day, whether you can or you can't, you are right. So believe you can. So what can help with that is a pre-race ritual or a pre-sport ritual, whatever you're used to doing that makes you feel a bit better, just gets you a bit calm, a bit of breath work and visualization that you can see yourself winning the race, a good clean race. So and a final note, because it's multifactorial, the things that you can start to note down is you have a cramp journal. So basically you can write down whatever you might think has affected or could have possibly affected whether you've cramped or not. So this could be anything with medication, sickness, any underlying disease. Like I said, if there's anything within your blood work that might pop up, and this would need addressing. When did it occur? Before, during, after, in between, at the start? beginning or end of the race, or you know, the event. Your sleep time, your sleep quality, your diet, was it low or high carb on the day, and the days prior. Stimulant usage, anything that would have made the nervous system more excitatory than it needed to be in the lead up to it. Environmental conditions in terms of mental state, psychological state, etc. And your training intensity. Did you cramp in a low intensity, medium intensity, or high intensity game or moment? That's it all on cramping. Here we bloody go. You're welcome. And here's to zero cramps, my girls and Peters.